What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's going on here in our country on a daily basis. We got some major stuff here going on here this week, including what's our inflation report on Wednesday, and also a major deadline happening here on Friday that could be very, very important. We'll go over that here in this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos. And also thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Let's jump right in because we got a lot to talk about here. Here we go. Okay, first up, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen predicts, quote, much lower inflation, but by the end of 2023, so a whole year from now, and finally admits a risk of recession, saying, quote, I believe by the end of next year, you will see much lower inflation if there's not an unanticipated shock, which it seems like there always is, right? Quote, I am very hopeful that the labor market will remain quite healthy so that people can feel good about their finances and their personal economic situation. First of all, does anybody feel good right now about their personal finances or economic situation with inflation at a 40-year high and a recession probably that we're already in? Mortgage rates have more than doubled this year. Credit card rates at an all-time high. The average credit card rates at 20%, the highest credit card rates at 35 to 36%. And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but it doesn't seem like the economy is getting better anytime soon. And they're saying that inflation's maybe going to get better by Christmas of next year. Meanwhile, we got some major deadlines and, well, announcements maybe this week. Here, take a listen.
Key week for the economy and economic data. Tomorrow is November CPI. Wednesday, we get the latest Fed interest rate decision. And Friday, the government could shut down if lawmakers can't reach at least a temporary deal on funding. Joining us now on all this is Heather Boucher, a member of President Biden's Council of Economic Advisors. It's good to see you this morning. Nice backdrop. Heather, do you, once again, we're going to hear from the Fed and Jay Powell. And I know that the Fed needs political independence. But, you know, when you're in the business of trying to get everyone working and, you know, trying to have a strong economy, is there any grousing in the White House about this Fed at this point, that we got things going so well, we understand inflation, but please don't kill the goose that's laying the golden egg? Do you ever hear that?
Well, here's the thing, Joe. We believe in the independence of the Fed, so I will not comment on Fed policy. And certainly what we here at the White House are focused on is making sure that the economy is delivering for working families, that the president is doing what he can to keep the economy on track. And the president has said time and time again that one of the most important economic issues facing families is getting inflation down. And he has made that his priority, doing what he can to address inflation through, all the work that's been happening to make sure supply chains have been functioning, which of course they are now to a larger degree, and all the other things that are helping to lower prices for families, including lower prices that families are facing now for gas prices at the pump, which is certainly a welcome relief during this holiday season, with the typical two-driver family saving about $175 relative to the peak early this summer. So these are the kinds of questions that we in the White House are talking about right now in terms of the economy.
Oh, you look at the gas price. We got it up there now. Oil, $70. So there are positive things on the inflation front. When on a Friday, when you have like last Friday, you have a good jobs number, and then you see that there's wage gains. And all of a sudden, everybody's all up in arms. And the Fed, oh, my God, we got to be much nastier about raising rates than we were. No one at the White House goes that why are higher wages a problem when it's something we've been trying to do for so long? Doesn't the I don't know. It just seems like a warped way to try to bring inflation under control.
Well, and Joe, this is exactly why the president has been so focused on the agenda to make sure that we are supporting industries that are moving us to a clean economy, making sure that our economy can be resilient, and so that we are creating good jobs all across the country. The president last week was focused on the conversation he was having in Phoenix, where there is now an increase in an investment by a company named TSMC to $40 billion in a second semiconductor facility. This is going to create good jobs in that community on top of lots of other investments all across the country in semiconductors and clean energy in U.S. manufacturing. And so the president and the economic team are really focused on, that piece of the real economy, where those jobs are being created and how that is going to be benefiting American families and creating those good jobs, hopefully union jobs across the U.S. economy.
Let me just try to drill down on what you think or what you would concede resulted in the inflation. And a lot of it is in the labor market, so we'll talk about that in a second. But there's also, when you increase demand with stimulus, sometimes that causes some inflation. Would you continue to try to affect some of the president's priorities, knowing that it was counter to what the Fed is doing? Would you continue to have demand increase by spending on whatever social programs you want to spend on? Or at this point, do you think we really need to take a pause, let the Fed affect demand so inflation's come down? Should we keep spending? Got more to do next year?
Well, here's the thing. There have been a series of historic investments that are now going into the economy. This congressional session has been historic in terms of the amount of legislation it's gotten through, much of which on a bipartisan basis, and much of which has been focused on addressing core challenges on the supply side of the economy. We all saw over the course of the pandemic how fragile America's supply chains are. And we've seen, of course, it's brought into stark relief, especially since Putin's unprovoked war in the Ukraine, how we need to make sure that we are focused on this transition to clean energy for the sake of the environment, but also to make sure that we have that energy independence. And so the president's focus on, again, semiconductors, but clean energy, on making and building things here in America, those are the kinds of investments that we need to continue to make to support the economy nationwide. But these are supply side investments that are going to make our economy more productive, more resilient, more competitive internationally over time.
I hate when people blame inflation on the stimulus programs that went out to help the poor, the needy, the lower and middle class, because I think we all know, if you've been watching my channel or if you are just aware of this, inflation is everywhere around the world. And inflation in a lot of parts other than the United States are much, much higher. And in a lot of places where they didn't help out their people nearly as much. If you just take a look, so this is why you can't really blame, oh, we helped out our people with a few stimulus checks, with some food programs, with this, that, and the other things, some unemployment programs, rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. I mean, if you try to blame it on that, it's not the reason, because if it were, inflation wouldn't be much higher in a lot of other countries. Take a look. How much is inflation in the UK? United Kingdom inflation is 11.1%. That's a lot higher than our 7.7% right now. And also, you can see here, there are other percentages here. Gas, 129% inflation. And electricity, 65% inflation. Yeah, so again, our inflation right now is 7.7%. Theirs is 11.1%. We'll pick some other countries here, random countries in Europe. Germany, which is the largest economy in all of Europe, so that's a pretty good country to pick, the largest economy in Europe. Germany is a 10% inflation. In October, that's for November, which is the most recent month. Obviously December they don't have yet because it's not even over. In October, it was 10.4%. So even higher. Remember, our most recent inflation number is 7.7. So when you get to 10%, remember that's about 50% higher than 7.7, because 50% of 7.7 is like 3.3. If you add 3.3 to 7.7, you get 10%. So inflation in Germany is 50% higher than the United States, guys. This is the largest economy in all of Europe, the largest country economy in all of Europe. The United Kingdom was even higher. Here's Italy. Italy, similar to ours, A couple different inflation numbers here. Average harmonized inflation, 8%, 7.3% in November, and consumer price index in October was 11.8. Yeah, so I mean, again, there's three different numbers here, but I mean, you can see one's about the same as ours, and two are higher, one much higher. Again, there's a couple different kind of indexes here, but also Canada inflation, our closest neighbor to the north. Canada inflation 6.9% in September. So just a little bit below what we are. So they're doing a slight little bit better, but were actually higher than us at 8.1% here recently as well. So they're very similar to us, very, very similar to us. And again, President Biden's not their president. Again, and again, you could blame it on this, that, and the other thing. But again, you could see here, you could almost pick any country in the world, Google their inflation number, and it's either similar to ours, higher, or maybe lower. But this just kind of shows you, this is where, most people don't realize this. And same thing with gas prices. Gas prices actually in most countries, especially in Europe, are much higher than the United States. So when you see this, when you realize this, you're like, ooh, well then maybe it's not the United States' fault. I I get if you're a Republican, you want to blame it on Biden. I get it. I By all means do it if you want to. It doesn't make me sleep better at night or sleep worse at night. But this is just why I show you. Remember here that the U.S. is actually producing more oil right now than they did the day Biden came into office. And I'll show you in case you didn't see that episode. Here it is directly from the EIA, the U.S. Information Administration. The U.S. is actually producing more oil per day right now than the day Biden came into office, which was January of 2021. You can see here that our highest ever was 13,000 barrels per day that we were producing before the pandemic hit. And then the oil companies drastically, this is when Trump was president, they drastically cut their production down to 10,000 barrels per day this is 1,000 barrels per day, down to 10,000 because the pandemic hit and demand went down. So that stayed really low. So it went down 30% when Trump was president, and it stayed low until he left. Biden came in and it was 11,000 barrels per day. And then it's gone up since Biden has been president all the way up to 12,200 per day. And it's almost getting close back to the high of 13,000 per day. So, everybody says, Biden has stifled the oil and gas industry. When in reality, it's actually gone up, our production, since he's come into office. And again, I could care less. I'm not on either side. I just like to look at the data and be realistic about what's going on here in our country. What's realistic here is that gas and oil prices have gone up, And oil companies are making more profit than ever. We covered here in a recent video, a congresswoman actually, they've actually done the data. They're making 54% more profit despite the pandemic. 54% more profit. These oil and gas companies made more profit in the last year than they ever have ever in their histories. So, yeah, and they're spending tens of billions of dollars in buybacks, stock buybacks, to buy back their stocks, but they don't want to spend any money on production. So they're never going to produce another oil refinery ever again. But they got tens of billions of dollars for stock buybacks. And meanwhile, look at this: the price of oil has gone all the way down to $73 a barrel for WTI crude, Brent crude at 78. Natural gas actually really high at almost $7 a unit. So that's actually really high here. But oil down in the 70s. So really, really low here. It's gone up here just recently 3%, just like in the last little update here. But this is like the lowest we've seen all year. Gas prices are, have come down. You could see here national average gas prices. They have come down. I mean, 1 cent in the last day, but they have come down 14 cents in the last week for regular, which is really good, 14 cents a week. But honestly, this should be way lower. With the price of oil in this at almost $70 a barrel, $73 a barrel. I mean, honestly, gas should be like $2. $2. I mean, they're just literally price gouging us. And diesel at $5. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. I seen diesel the other day for double the price of regular. We have a diesel shortage. It's like we only have like a few days of diesel in reserves, or not really reserves, but the amount of diesel that that we would have till we run out in the country, because they're just not producing enough diesel. These oil companies, because you could see here, diesel's come down about 18 cents in the last week here. They're just not producing enough diesel for our country. And same thing with Europe, all around the world. Heaven forbid we have a larger war than what's going on in Ukraine. They're just not producing it. And it's keeping the diesel price high artificially. Yeah, and it also keeps your food prices and goods prices and everything else prices high. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date here. But something's got to give. And any one problem will happen, and then they'll raise the prices even more. So make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos here on our channel, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Also, thanks for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next, or you can click here to see what is coming here on Wednesday. Another very important announcement coming. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.